Your parents are still impacting your adult relationships. And today, we're going to talk about exactly why that's happening and how you can make sure that you're not being impacted in a way you don't like. Your parents are still affecting your adult relationships. Even if you don't speak to them, even if they aren't around you anymore, they are still impacting the way that you connect to other people. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how that's happening and what you need to do about it, because I don't want you to be living with those old relationship patterns any more than you want to be living with them. Now, anyone who knows about attachment, and you're watching this channel, so hopefully you know quite a bit because I've got 300 videos on here so far, but anyone watching this video knows that attachment comes to you through your parents. Attachment then is deeply connected to how your parents treated you, and that tells you what you should expect out in the world from other people. This is a big chunk of what happens in your adult relationships, but I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. Let's break that down in really grueling detail. If I make you cry by the end of this video, then I have done my job, but if I've also showed you hope, then I have really done my job. So today we're going to be talking about parents and how they impact your adult relationships. Buckle up for that because it could be a little bit rough. Everything you need to know about any of these resources that I'm going to share in here today are going to be on adamlanesmith.com. I've got tons of resources no matter where you come in and what parents you had. You're going to find some resources on my website or link down in the details below. I'm going to take care of that as well so that you can get better, change your adult relationships, build them into what you want them to be, and be your own person instead of what somebody else has turned you into. So let's jump right in and let's talk about attachment, where it comes from, and why your parents are still impacting you more than you probably realize. So attachment, very quickly, forms from the moment you are born. Your brain starts saying, I have needs. How are people going to treat me out in this world? Are people going to care for me, a little tiny baby? Are they going to nurture me? Are they going to feed me when I cry, change me when I cry, hold me, help me to feel safe? I have needs and I can't offer anything to anyone. So how do people treat me when I'm helpless? This continues up until 2, 3, 4, all the way up till maybe 10, 12. It seems to be what the research indicates is from birth to age 12, your brain is trying to figure out, how does the world work? How are people going to treat me? What should I expect inside of relationships? You can tell now why your parents have such a gigantic impact on you. And yes, I even mean that parent who may not have been there. I have all kinds of people walking into my coaching practice, and many of them are adoptees who have never met their adult parents or their biological parents. Maybe they have never met a father or even a mother, but they are still impacted by attachment. Their brain often asks, why was I not good enough for them to keep? Why did I get given up? Why are they not with me here today? The same thing happens if you have an adult parent who leaves and you get a great step parent that replaces them, and your brain still says, where's that other person? Where is he? If I'm such a great kid, why wasn't he here? Why didn't he stay? Now, as adults, we can look back and say, well, dad didn't stay because he and mom just simply were not compatible on this level. And also he had this drug addiction, and also he had to flee the country, and all kinds of whatever the reasons may be. I've heard them all. But the brain still says, this was my fault somehow. As a little tiny child, you're 2 years old. Your brain doesn't track socioeconomic patterns. It doesn't understand that kind of cause and effect. Your brain at 2 years old says, I want my dad. I should have a dad. Every child has a biological father. I don't. Why? And the little brain barely understands reasons. So if nobody tells you, the brain turns inward and assumes the worst. Either you get an attachment issue that's exciting called anxious attachment style that says, I wasn't a good enough kid for him to stay. If I had been better, he would have seen that I was better and would have stayed for me. This is what the brain says. Or taken me with him. It would have, I didn't want to lose mom either, but he would have kept me. It's my fault. If you're in a broken family system where everyone is treating each other like garbage, often instead your brain will go the other route and say, my parent left and everyone else treated me like crap. There is a severe problem with other human beings. Nobody is going to meet my needs. Nobody cares about me. Other people are the problem. Avoidant attachment style, or a really exciting blend of the two called disorganized style, also called fearful avoidant, also called anxious avoidant. It's the blending of, I don't know which one it is, and I have to stay constantly adaptable in case it is my fault, in case it's someone else's fault, in case they try to get too close to me and approval seeking is enough, or I run away and they still chase me anyway. You stay constantly mobile and adaptable. Going back to, how did your parents treat you? It can even be as simple as they were still there. They never left, but they were hypercritical, constantly telling you that you were doing everything wrong. Everything wrong. I have all kinds of people come into my coaching with hypercritical biological parents, still married, still together, and they say, I don't understand. My family was fine. I didn't have any issues, and now I do. I have attachment problems. Well, yeah, no, your family wasn't quite fine. Their love for you was not consistent. Their love for you was dependent on how you acted, how you performed. Was your performance an indicator of if you were going to be taken care of or not? Ask yourself. Answer out loud. Yes. Yes, Adam, my parents didn't give me as much love if I didn't perform well. Some parents turn their back on you. Some parents tell you this is not acceptable. Like 3 years old, like macaroni art. It's serious. Some parents are so hypercritical, they think they're setting you up for success. Instead, they set you up to never, ever feel safe ever in any relationship. It's quite a difference. This is why many parents, though, when you try to talk to them about this, they say, I did everything right. I did everything for you. I criticized you to make you stronger and focused on better performance. Well, yes, but you also shattered that human being. Not a great move. But they didn't know what to do. This is the best that was given to them. We need to talk about that piece here in just a moment, because we're not going to excuse parents for what they did. But we do need to talk about the reality of where they're at. Most parents are coming into this with generational issues of their own. Not all, but many come in saying, I have done so much better than my parents did. So when you try to talk to them, they push back extra hard because they feel attacked for doing better than they got and the best that they possibly knew how. Again, not all, and this is not excusing any kind of abuse or neglect whatsoever. I'm just letting you know, if you've ever had a hard time pushing back and getting any validation from your parents or any acknowledgement or any kindness or any follow-up, this could be why. And they could still be shaping your relationships because you are not allowed to speak in your romantic adult relationships or friendships even about problems that are there because you don't believe anyone will ever really listen to you about your concerns because your concerns are always historically swept under the rug. If that's you, your parents are impacting those relationships. If your parents are teaching you that everyone's going to be hypercritical and you have to be perfect, they're still impacting your relationships. If your parents are teaching you not to trust anybody else on this earth, they're still impacting your relationships. If you're in your adult romantic relationship, for example, and you cannot voice your need because you do not think the person will care, so you have to earn approval from them to make them like you, this is a serious problem that goes right back to your parenthood, to your parent relationship. If you are struggling to believe everyone's going to betray you, if that's what you believe, and you cannot open up and trust your partner, and they make the smallest slight mistake, and you grab onto it as proof that you should never have trusted them, that goes back to your adult relationships and your parental relationships as a child. It goes back right there. All of these pieces in your relationships. Let's talk in a moment about what that causes and how to fix it, because I got a lot of solutions for you. Now, just as a quick aside, before we get to the solution part that you want to hear, I am hosting webinars every single month about some of these topics, and I would love to get you in there. If you want to sign up for my next free public webinar, make sure you click the link down in the description below, and we will get together. So how do you know if your relationships are being impacted right now by your parents? And if they are, how do you fix it? You are in the right place, because I'm a specialist in fixing this. In fact, every attachment problem that comes in, it goes back to the adult relationships that you are having, linked back to your parents. Every challenge that I face is, let's fix what happened with your parents. So some of the biggest ones I see, I can't share my needs or I'll get abandoned. I have to be perfect or I'm going to get abandoned. I have to make sure the other person is having the time of their life, especially in the bedroom, even at my own expense, or I'll get abandoned. I have to constantly make sure everyone else is happy or somebody will turn on me. I have to constantly maintain everyone's mood or they may not do what I need them to do. I can never open up and share who I really am because that makes me vulnerable and other people will exploit my weakness. I hate myself all the time and violate all my principles and core values to make other people happy, and I despise myself. That goes right back to attachment with your parents. All of these problems, the reasons you are so unhappy in your relationships, tie back to your parents. You could have had great parents, but you spent the first 3 months of your life, if you were born super early, in the NICU. I have coaching clients come in all the time who were in the NICU, raised with great parents, but they did not heal those attachment wounds that they formed early on, where their brain says, I'm stuck in a hospital tank here, like the little baby tank. I'm stuck in this tank and I can't be held. Nobody holds me when I cry. No one nurtures. Something's wrong with me. Nobody loves me. Why am I fearful, avoidant? All kinds of stuff comes from this. I have a lot of avoidant people actually come from the NICU and they don't realize why, or in daycare. All kinds of projects can happen. But again, those go back to your beliefs about your parents and how you felt that they loved you or didn't. So fixing this Fixing these problems comes down to how do you repair the relationships now and experience them. You must learn a few key steps that are crucial to what is supposed to happen in a good, secure relationship, and then you must follow the steps to experience it. So your brain can learn when you read my book, Slaying Your Fear, when you watch my attachment bootcamp video course, when you watch these things and you view them, your brain intellectually knows them and says, now I know this information, but it hasn't proven that information yet. So someone may watch my attachment bootcamp video course and say, okay, I know the 10 clear steps to fix attachment with myself, with my community, with a romantic partner, with co-parenting, building a family, building a legacy. Wonderful. I know that. But because they haven't gone out and experienced it yet, they haven't put that into practice yet, their brain doesn't fully, and especially on the emotional side, doesn't fully believe it yet. It's an unproven hypothesis that your brain says could get you killed. Because again, as a child, any fears that you had about not getting your needs met with your parents set up as fear of death and abandonment and dying or getting hurt. So it's now linked to death. So now as an adult, if I mess up, I could die in my relationships. So what your brain thinks. Until you have those experiences and bond with a couple of key people in your life and open up. For example, the I am an anxious person speech that's present in my attachment bootcamp course. That speech walks you through how to open up to another human being in the right way with the right phrases. It's very quick. You can even write it down on a note card, take it to that person, and you're shaking like this, like trying to read it. And they're like, what the heck is wrong with you? And you say, I'm really nervous because this is scaring me and I need to talk to you, but just bear with me. And you read it. And they're like, oh, and as you share that with them and say, I am nervous, I am scared, this is difficult for me. First of all, they connect with you as a human being. If they're even halfway a decent moral human being, they'll care and really give an ear to you, and you become very relatable and very someone they want to help. They feel good about that because you've been very real with them. As you share with them and read to them what you need to open up and experience, what your vulnerabilities, your insecurities. Usually it's outing yourself as having insecurities in the first place. As you do this, your brain says, I'm going to die. But the other person, you look up and make eye contact, and the other person is looking at you with care. They say, it's okay. I get it. I didn't realize it was this bad. I always knew that you were kind of anxious and stressed out. Like, no, I'd love to have a good relationship with you. Yes, we can still be friends. Yes, let's move forward with this. Yeah, it's cool. Hey, let's do this. What do you need from me? And your brain experiences that acceptance that you never experienced back with your childhood, back with your parents. Your brain says, okay, this is actually true. It's true with one person. Now I need to test it with a couple more people to see if it's actually true. This is a process called systematic desensitization, which is really just a fancy way of saying doing something over and over and over till your brain learns not to be scared anymore. As you work on systematic desensitization, your brain says, all right, this isn't that bad. As a brief aside, for an extreme version of this from my real life practice, years back when I was doing psychotherapy, I would do in-home treatment for people, and they would be terrified to death, for example, of riding the bus. We would ride the bus the first time, and I'd try to distract them from the panic attack they were about to have because they felt like riding the bus was dangerous. But by the third time that we rode the bus together, it was no big deal, and they could easily just walk on and casually laugh about it and just have a great time while they were on the bus. It was not a big deal. 3 times to go from fear and panic attacks to not a big deal. 3 human beings to go from terror of dying by opening up to feeling relief at being accepted by people who care about you. It can be this simple. As I laid out in my attachment bootcamp video course, it lays out those 10 steps that you need to follow and experience. You don't just listen to me talk and teach, I hope. You follow the steps of what I'm teaching you so that you will experience it. So if anyone here has been watching all 300 and something like 25 videos on my YouTube channel, and you're saying, this is great, as so many of you write in on the comments, this is great, I'm healing, I'm growing, I've learned so much, wonderful. But don't just watch them, live them. Act these out in your life. Follow the steps. Take the steps you need to, and if you need some personal help, sign up for my coaching practice. I will guide you through a couple of sessions and build you the pathway to experience it. That's not a big deal. But we can do this, and you can have the experiences you need to reshape your brain. Now, when you fix these problems, they go away. And in fact, it leaves room for better relationships because now you're not just afraid of what mom and dad would have said about you way back then, or what your brain thinks mom and dad would have said about you, or what your brain thinks you are not worth because of them back then. Instead, you say, this is what I'm demonstrably worth now. to people who care about me. This is the value of experiencing secure attachment, because it builds better relationships, decreases your daily anxiety level, and increases all the good positive brain chemistry that you need. We have so many psychological issues in the book, the DSM-5. I learned all of them in my master's program through graduate school to treat and manage specific diagnoses, but so many of them are not a disease. They are a response to poor brain chemistry and poor environment, building back to your relationships with your parents. You want to fix those things? You want to have great relationships and feel better in your daily life? You need to have these new experiences and build in a better life for yourself by proving it to your brain. So if this is hit and it's connected and you're saying, yes, Adam, I want to fix these things. Okay, fantastic. Here's what you need to do. You either need to check the link below and schedule a coaching session with me, or get some more information with some of my resources available on my website, adamlanesmith.com. What you can also do is just drop a comment below and say, hey, Adam, I need some help. Hey, Adam, I need some resources. Hey, Adam, here's where I am. What do you think my next step should be? Ask me some questions. This is our time to connect and make sure that you're getting what you need. Even if it's just to drop me a line and say, Adam, I am learning so much and I am having these experiences. Show me a couple. Tell me a couple of experiences you have had that changed your brain. The things you've learned, great. The experiences that you have had that changed that. What are you doing to have different experiences? Drop me that in the comments below. I can't wait to read them.